Good morning. My name is Aisha Chugtai, and I'm the chair of the Budget Committee. I'm going to call to order our adjourned committee meeting for Friday, October 11th, 2024. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley. Absent. Rainville.
Right here.
Oh.
Present.
Feetop.
Present.
Ellison is absent. Osman is absent. Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury is absent. Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Chugtai.
Present.
We have 9 present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. I'll also remind my colleagues that we're going to be using speaker management today, so please make sure to sign in. Colleagues, we have one presentation today related to the capital budget. We have several departments who are here on hand to assist with this presentation, but I will first invite Lindsay Erdman from the Budget Office to kick us off. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Council Vice President Chugtai, Council President Payne, and Council members. My name is Lindsay Erdman. I'm a budget analyst in the Budget Division, and I will be giving the capital overview on behalf of the Budget Division. I'd first like to recognize and thank the entire budget team for their time and effort in preparing and supporting the production of the capital budget. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Ines Mustafa, the Budget Division's fellow, who has assisted extensively with the development of the capital budget in this presentation. Lastly, the Budget Division extends a huge thank you to all the departments and city agencies that are involved in the capital improvement program budget and process. We greatly value their partnership and dedication to this work. During the presentation today, I'll provide an overview of the Capital Long Range Improvement Committee, or CLIC, and the Mayor's Recommended Capital Improvement Program, or CIP. Then I'll hand it over to Director Alan Hoppy to present on the city's debt service levels. Finally, the council will hear from departments and agencies about project specifics. So CLIC is comprised of 33 appointed members, including 2 members per council ward and 7 at-large members appointed by the mayor. CLIC reviews project requests and develops a recommended capital improvement plan to the mayor. The 2024 CLIC report lives on the Finance and Property Services page on the city's website and is linked here on this slide. For members of the public who are interested in serving on CLIC, you're encouraged to visit the clerk's page to learn more, as there will be an application period open in March of 2025. So the Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, budgeting process is a continuous annual cycle. So beginning at the top of this diagram in the gray circle, in January and going through March, departments and partner agencies work on capital budget requests for the 6-year CIP. At the beginning of April, these requests are made available to CLIC. Then the committee reviews the requests, hears department presentations, rates projects, and makes CIP recommendations in late June and early July. These recommendations are used as a starting place for the mayor's recommendation, which is submitted in August. The council then reviews, amends, and adopts the CIP by December. The first year of the CIP is appropriated and the project begins. Years 2 through 6 of the CIP then serve as the basis for the capital budget requests for the following year. So I'd like to note that while I've listed the most common months on the diagram, for demonstration purposes, projects may move between the various steps as needed throughout the year. Okay, so this slide breaks down the funding sources for each year of the mayor's recommended CIP. So 2025 is the appropriation year with about $279 million recommended in programming. The remaining years are planning years because many of these projects involve large-scale construction projects. Having a long-range view is essential. Year over year, the majority of the CIP is funded with bonds, followed by other governmental sources like federal or state grants. Since excuse me, since 2025 is the appropriation year, we're going to do a deeper dive into those recommended revenue sources. So bonding is the largest recommended revenue source, accounting for 58% of funding, or about $161.5 million. This really illustrates the importance of the city's AAA bond rating, so the city can primarily bond for its capital program. Other governmental revenues are the next largest source, accounting for $40.4 million, or 15% of the CIP. And then lastly, the value capture source, which is a revenue-generating district primarily for planning and construction related to transit lines, represents $31.2 million, or 11% of the CIP in 2025. This slide puts the CIP into context with the operating budget. So the CIP remains stable from 24 to 25 and into the 2026 planning year, representing about 14.5% of the budget. And then lastly, this slide shows the trajectory of the CIP over the last several years. So you'll note that 2025 through 2027 show increased budgets, while the last 3 years of the plan are lower. As departments present on project specifics, you'll see that some major construction will occur in the first half of the 6-year plan. Taking a more conservative approach in the out years will allow us to maintain our high standards of service while maintaining flexibility for changing conditions, needs, and costs. So from here, I'll hand it over to Director Hoppe to discuss the city's debt service.
Welcome, Director Hoppe. If you'll start by introducing yourself, and if that, I also want to just quickly note that we have been joined in this meeting by Councilmember Chowdhury. But welcome, Director Hoppe.
Good morning, committee members. I'm Alan Hoppe, Director of Banking, Investments, Debt, and also the Merchant Card Program. Our particular division in the Finance Department has 7 positions. We primarily serve as the city's liaison with the financial services industry related to the items I just talked about. So we'll work with bond lawyers, investment managers, debt consultant, merchant card people from the banking side, et cetera. So we have several of us that are focused just on debt, part of the time anyway. And I'm going to go into a presentation. And if you, I'm thinking about 10 minutes here to go through these roughly 10 slides. And if you want to hit me with questions at the end, that might work best. But if you got it, just go ahead and say something. Okay. Not sure if there's a clicker or how the slides are advancing. Oh, okay. I've seen everything else. I'll briefly introduce some terms just for conversation in case we come back to these. The first 3, or the last 3 are kind of a separate category. The first one is just talking about the bond redemption levy. Here, of course, it says a dedicated property tax levy for payment of principal and interest. And when we talk about principal and interest, we refer to that as debt service on the levy-funded debt. The other 3 items relate to the traditional, usually annual kind of debt that we're issuing to support these various programs that are in the CIP. So first off, we have the tax-supported debt. We have 2 categories there. The bulk of what we do usually there is net debt bonds for a particular large project. There's another part of the statute that we worked with, and that was for CIP bonds, and those help fund the public service building, the new building, about 5 years ago. So all of these bonds here are financed by the levy. They will include such things as a police building, improvements, changes to the city hall, fire station, anything that was of other interest to the city but wasn't going to be funded in another way from a capital standpoint, then we would fall to the property tax levy to pay that debt. You'll see the word GO here, or general obligation. That's, attorneys can always weigh in on a better definition, but that's an obligation of the organization. It doesn't necessarily mean property taxes. So I just want to cover that point. What does GO mean? We're saying it's a liability of the overall organization to make the payment to the bondholders. Number 3 there, improvement bonds. These are your street improvement type. Those bonds are funded by assessments from the benefiting property owners. The last one is utility or enterprise bonds, water utility, sewer utility, that sort. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. We have some variable rate debt. This rate adjusts throughout the month. It's for a parking ramp loan that was done a number of years ago. Usually, variable rate is very attractive. It usually means like over decades of time compared to fixed rate debt. But the risk is that in any given year, you could bust your budget. When the variable rate jumps sky high, it's much more volatile than long-term debt. That's why we don't get too crazy about doing variable rate debt. We do have capacity to do more at the present, but interest rates are not that bad right now for fixed rate debt. And at the moment, short-term rates are still relatively high. I'm going to touch on this just for a second for anybody that doesn't have familiarity. This is kind of the big picture, typical debt issuance cycle. Of course, you probably have spent some time hearing about the capital projects themselves. So first off, of course, we're getting that need for the bonding proceeds of the money. Second, come December, you're going to approve some resolutions, in particular for these 3 kinds of debt that I just talked about. And third, we work with, once we have that approval in place, we work with the project managers and how much you're actually going to spend based on their current forecast. So there's, I suppose, from the time the organization starts a discussion on a project to the time that's completed, it can go 5 years. And so various amounts of things are happening during the cycle. And you're looking at approving 2025 bond authorizations, but keep in mind that's authorization that we're going to go ahead and issue some of those bonds, but we won't issue all because the projects take some time to get into place. And because they're tax exempt, they're subject to IRS rules, and so we have to comply with our arbitrage requirements. Basically, we don't want to just get a bunch of money and sit on it. We can't do that with tax exempt bonds. So once projects are cash flow ready or getting close to shovel ready, we can go ahead and do that. So I think the important point here is that what we sell is going to be sold in 2024 is different than what was authorized in December of 2023. It's going to be a lot of the same projects, but the numbers are a little different. Eventually, we will sell the bonds for those projects that are authorized in any given year. Then our team puts together a preliminary offering statement with the help of the professionals, go to the bond rating agencies. The CFO usually leads that presentation to the rating agencies. Good part of that, of course, is a city's character, and that just, you may have heard things from bankers like capital, capacity, character, et cetera. That's kind of the same thing for the city. What's our debt level? What are the demographics? What are the economics? What's the financial leadership? And of course, history and the results are really what the rating agencies are looking at. They're not going to take our promises or comments that are speculative. We have to be relatively concrete with that. So once we go through that process, we will typically award the bond issue on the lowest true interest cost or true interest rate. So that's kind of the bottom line. So it's another form of the procurement process. It's usually a competitive process. In a special situation, there could be a negotiated deal. But we haven't had to do anything in 3 years that I've been working on this with the city. Let's see, once we sell the bonds, we'll take those proceeds and put them in the construction funds. In some cases, some of those, because they were authorized to spend, and we do have an internal pool of cash, some of those projects have already spent some of their cash, and we are replenishing that particular fund or account. This is estimated debt capacity, including the bond issue that we just sold. I'm not going to go through all the math line by line. Just the bottom line there is we do have capacity to issue more debt. I would say we're probably in the range of average. It kind of varies year by year, sometimes with the calculation of the market value, or sometimes how much debt we're issuing, or on the particular month that we do this calculation. Here is a picture of the bonds that we sold 2 weeks ago. $119,880,000. Average interest rate at 3.21%. And as I indicated, you may have authorized X number of bonds in the last couple of years. We went and put the bond issue together, kept looking back and grabbing whatever was authorized, and the project managers had indicated that they are spending on those. We also incorporate their spending forecast for roughly the next year on these particular projects. I won't go through, just for the sake of time, go through each individual line there. Why don't I go ahead to the next slide. With the cycle, we'll be getting these proceeds tentatively October 23rd. This is a picture of our outstanding debt, including the bonds that we just sold. There's multiple types of debt. I put double stars in the far left column of the ones that I've been talking about for the most part that you're usually dealing with in the budget process. You can see a comparison between last year and this year in the columns on the right and the change with that. Okay, now this particular slide, I mentioned debt service includes principal and interest. This slide is just the principal. So these, I believe we've got these two columns on the far right, mirroring what you just saw in the slide before. So this total geo debt approaches $1 billion. And granted, the city has gone through different building initiatives and momentum in the past. Generally speaking, I mentioned our debt is not excessive. I did put a note in here that
Director Hoppe, if you can just make sure that the speaker your mic can catch what you're saying.
Yep, okay. I'm trying to read this at the same time here. So basically, our debt has not grown as much as the inflation rate, which is a good thing. We can say, well, debt was a little high 10 years ago, but I wanted to give you some perspective of how things have been going for the last 10 years with this debt. For the 2025 authorization, this is just kind of a snapshot for reference here. In this, I'll just pick one of these here, the 8 million geo improvement bonds. Again, we'll issue debt next year for some of those bonds, but we'll also be issuing debt for some projects that were approved maybe even the year before or the year before that. The debt service expense budget, this is again, the principal and interest. You can kind of see how much we're spending here in total. 130-some million. Let me point out one item here. At the bottom there, we have net debt service and public center bonds. So this is generally what we're looking at for the levy to pay debt service. Then the annual debt redemption levy, again, this is focused just on the principal repayment. This picture includes principal and interest because it's dealing with the levy. So we levy next year's expected principal and interest plus a 5% over levy that's required by statute. The levy dollar amounts passed and projected are on that top line. And then down below we have percentages, what kind of growth. We had kind of a one-time adjustment in 2022. Generally speaking, we're trying to keep it relatively consistent for the sake of property owners so that they don't get a big shock, especially an upward shock in their tax payment relative to debt service. With that, I stand for questions. Chair Chutai.
Colleagues, are there any questions for Director Hoppe? I'll first recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council Vice President Chuktai. If we could just go back to slide 14, I did kind of wish you would have went through these individual ones I get for time, but I at least wanted to know what NDB stood for in the first one in the capital infrastructure column.
It's further back. It's the net debt bonds.
Oh, thank you. Never mind. That's it.
This one here? This one here?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. NDB refers to net debt bonds. Basically, the title is a little misleading, but it's been around historically, and we've continued with that. But it's the revenue source is strictly property taxes.
Wonderful, thank you. I did have just a question for you, Director, and then we'll welcome the next presenter. So I was, I was looking at the slide where you're covering variable rate, general obligation debt. And, this is an example I see here, right? That our debt is at 3% of the city's general obligation debt, and you want to generally you want to limit to 25%. Just that first section there. These ultimately, in your next slide, you kind of walk through are things that we are going to. You're talking to us about this now because we are going to approve resolutions at the end of the year that related to our city's debt authorization. What if this body wanted to, and I'm not saying that's what we want to do, but what if this body wanted to, say, double the amount of variable rate debt? Like, ultimately, we approve these items, so inherent to that is the ability to amend and make changes, make tweaks. Could we do something like that? And what would be the consequence?
Chair Chuktai and members of the committee, for that, I don't think there isn't anything I haven't already said about it, except we have to tread lightly, so we can do this. We're kind of playing the odds. We're assuming that history will repeat itself and that over the long term, it will be cheaper debt. In some cases, it can get a little complicated compared to a generic fixed income. And we may end up negotiating, not the end of the world. It gets, that can be done. The rating agencies are the ones we want to be careful with, because you load on too much variable debt and they know that risk is out there, that a bomb it can happen in 2 or 3 years where interest rates pop up and all of a sudden your budget is busted pretty hard because of that. So I'm not against that. It's a tool that we have in our toolbox. We use it sparingly. Likely would still keep a 20-year, most of our debt is structured for 20-year maturities, and likely keep that same structure. The bonds are typically sold with call dates of roughly 10 years from now that we could call the bonds and do a refunding or something like that to lower interest. With a variable rate debt, the one we have right now, in some cases, you can pay that sooner and flip it over to fixed income. Usually people are asking us to do that when interest rates are high.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I see Council President Payne.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I was furiously looking for, I remembered a presentation in BET where we were looking at our debt capacity relative to some of our peers in the metro and how we are, if I recall, we were significantly below our debt capacity compared to some of our peers. And I was just curious, again, kind of more of a hypothetical. I'm not suggesting that we increase our debt capacity, but I was just wondering if you could just talk through what some of our primary considerations should be as we're looking at that. Obviously, I think our bond rating is maybe the answer to that question, but I'm just curious, if you have any kind of thoughts on when we ought to be considering more risk. What are the conditions in which we would want to increase our debt capacity?
Chair Chuktai and Committee Member Payne and other committee members, thank you for the question. Some of this gets to just kind of the long-term strategy. I don't like to say we want to take on risk, but where there's merit, where you would evolve these various capital projects through the CLIC process or other conversations, and the community needs certain resources to be put into place. This is a financing tool. I've indicated we have capacity. Should we use that capacity? That's a question. It does come at a cost to the taxpayers. They will have to pay for it. Again, we structure usually over 20 years for the most part to not penalize the current taxpayers. So each year, each tax paying constituency is kind of paying its share of what it's using. That's kind of I think there's just some economic principles and public policy that kind of help you answer your question.
No, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this section of the presentation. And who are we welcoming next? Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Council members. I'm Mary Altman, and I am the Public Arts Supervisor for the Department of Arts and Cultural Affairs. Am I going the wrong way? No. Okay. I'm here to present on the capital the CBRs for art in public places and for art in public places. This map shows the 100-plus artworks that have been commissioned through the CIP for public art since the late 1980s, and it also shows our projects in process. The whole program is guided by 6 values and goals that are in adopted policy. There are 2 artistic goals: stimulate excellence in urban design and public art, and value artists and artistic processes. 2 community goals: enhance community identity and place, involve a broad range of people and communities, and 2 resource-related goals: contribute to community vitality and use resources wisely. Just to highlight a couple of projects underway, I'm not going to go through all of them, but Roger Cummings and Chongo Cummings were recently selected to design a facade for North Commons Park. Lori Green and Juliet Perrine Myers are working on New Nicollet and art to be integrated into the new streetscape there. A big project that we are about to begin, and call for artists will go out for this fall, is the underbridge environment at High Lake. And also, we are going to issue this winter a call for artists for Awamni Yamni, a public art project at Waterworks Park, shortly after we bring to you proposed changes in artist selection policies for Native-focused projects. So there are 2 public art projects in the current CIP. The first one, Arto 1, is always in the CIP. It is funded according to ordinance, the minimum equivalent of 1.5% of the net debt bond, and this is the projected amount that is 1.5 of the net debt bond for the next 6 years. The second project is Upper Harbor Public Art, which is a special proposal that we have in the CIP, and that is $1.55 million over 4 years. The artwork that's featured on this page is at Samatar Crossing, and it's by Ephra Mansour, Aaron Marks, and Randy Walker, as well as 5 local poets. So in 2025, the budget for art in public places is over $1.2 million. Our goal, as always, is to integrate art into places where the city is doing buildings. So all of the projects that we're working on are actually in the CIP. And the projects that you'll hear about today, the investments are artist fees, project manager fees, the fabrication of artworks, and we also fund major art restoration out of this budget. We currently have 13 artists under contract, and 10 of those are people of color, and you can see we have a lot of projects underway. And this slide features The Dance of Dualities by Costanza Caballo and Marco Aquero in collaboration with the students at Falwell Community School. It's a median on 21st Avenue South, and that actually wasn't funded through the CIP. That was funded by a grant from Bloomberg. The special project we have in the budget proposal is Upper Harbor Public Art. A few years ago, we put this proposal in the CIP because we felt really strongly about having a special budget for public art for Upper Harbor. The city occasionally has a special budget for public art for really important projects. Nicollet Mall, for example, had a public art budget of $2 million. The new public service building had a budget of $2 million. And so we thought we should raise Upper Harbor up to kind of the same expectation. And the goal of this art would be similar to the goal of the public art we developed in Heritage Park 20 years ago, which was really to develop a community identity where we're building a new community. Again, the investments are the same. And Juxtaposition Arts collaborated with both Public Works and the Park Board to create a range of themes for this work. So the selected artists who work at Upper Harbor will build on the work of Juxta. And the examples I'm showing here are works that were designed for Heritage Park by Seytu Jones that really celebrated new community identity, historic community identity, as well as the geographic history of Heritage Park. That concludes my presentation. On this slide is a lawn sign that we have near a lot of the artworks that links to the 8 different interactive public art maps that we have online. I encourage you to look at them and share them with your constituents if you haven't already. I stand for questions.
Thank you, colleagues. Are there any questions for Ms. Ullman? I'm not seeing any. Thank you for your presentation. And we'll welcome up the next presenter. And welcome if you'll begin by introducing yourself.
Absolutely, thank you. I just want to make sure I do, okay. Good morning, my name is Erin Delaney, and I'm the Director of the Municipal Building Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to present our capital budgeting requests this morning. I'm going to start with just a background information about the MBC. As everyone is aware, the building is jointly owned by Hennepin County and the City of Minneapolis. The MBC board is comprised of Councilmember Vita, Mayor Fry, and the 2 county members are Commissioners Fernando and Commissioner Green. The MBC is responsible for all operations at the City Hall Courthouse. I've listed the breakdown of our amazing staff: security, custodial utility, the admin team, and we also have a team of building trades employees. The MBC is working in partnership with the City Facility Services on the Restack project in City Hall. The MBC's portion of that project is twofold: the mechanical and the life safety part of that project. The MBC has 2 capital projects, again, life safety and mechanical, that are already funded for the work back in City Hall, which is why those projects aren't listed in this current request. But the project is going well, and we are excited about it and excited to get you back into City Hall too. We miss having you over there. So let's see. Again, our capital funding requests are split 50-50 between Hennepin and the City of Minneapolis. So my total request for 2025 is $3.9 million, and the request to the city is $1.9. We have a total of 5 projects. 2 are existing and 3 are ongoing. The first project is an upgrade to the fire alarm system. The MBC manages the building-wide fire alarm system for both the building and the adult detention center. We currently use a Honeywell Apollo system, and the Apollo system is being phased out. So this funding is to research options to move to the next iteration of the fire alarm panels for the building. The next project is, again, a new project, heat exchangers and pump replacement. The building heating system, in very general terms, works from steam into hot water. The current system was installed over 25 years ago, so it's time for us to research options to replace the current system. Primarily, we have 2 very large exchangers and 2 very large pump replacement systems that we will be looking at. Again, this is a request to do some initial study with the majority of the work to follow in 2026. The third project is an existing project, and I think one of the MBC staff's favorite projects. It's our exterior improvements. CLIC has always been, and the City Council has always been very supportive of this project, so we thank you for your support. We have 3 phases left, and this is exactly what it says. This is exterior work. This is tucked pointing, window repair, door repair, waterproofing on all elements of the exterior of the building. We recently just awarded a contract for Phase 3 of this project, which will involve work on the 4th Street tower of the building. We've got some flagpole work that we have, which needs to be completed, and additional antenna removal from the 4th Street tower. Once Phase 3 is completed, we've got 2 remaining phases, moat repair in Phase 4, and then Phase 5, the final phase of this project, will be the interior courtyard of the building. And again, that involves waterproofing and masonry repair and tuck pointing. So it's obviously a large project, but we're close to 3 phases left, close to completion. The 4th project is, again, it's an existing project, Elevator 12. And actually, the name of this is not accurate. It's not a modernization. It's now a removal of Elevator 12. This is in the southwest corner of the building and had limited access. It was only sub-basement to ground floor access. There is no use for that elevator. It's not in a public corridor. The best option is to remove the elevator, restore the space for storage. Then the final project is a new project, the 5th Street Sidewalk Reconstruction Project. Essentially, the 5th Street side of the building between 3rd and 4th Avenue, the foundation of City Hall has suffered significantly from water infiltration for several years. So we're eager to move forward with an initial study on this work so that we can make repairs under the sidewalk to eliminate the continued damage to the foundation of City Hall. This will involve a complete removal of that sidewalk right along 5th Street. Again, the majority of this work is programmed to be completed in 2027, and the request before you today is an initial study on how best to address those issues. Let's see. Again, the request is $1.9 million, and we've enjoyed your support for several years, and we look forward to continuing a positive relationship. I am available for any questions, and thank you for your time.
Colleagues, are there any questions for Director Delaney? I'm not seeing any. Thank you for your presentation.
Great, thank you.
And we're ready to welcome our next presenter. Welcome, Director.
Hi.
If you'll also begin by introducing yourself.
Just want to queue up and make sure. Yes. It is. Good morning, Chair Chugtai and members of this committee. I am Barbara O'Brien, Director of Property Services for the City of Minneapolis. Property Services Division provides comprehensive facility management services to city-owned, operated, and leased properties. Internal services that our division provides our city department customers include space and asset management, facility design and construction, maintenance, operations, security, facility furnishing needs, energy reduction and sustainability, as well as custodial services. These focused activities occur daily within 61 facilities that make up our portfolio. The Property Services team manages 2,250,000 square feet that is dedicated to the City of Minneapolis functions. That's the equivalent of about 40 football fields, or just slightly less than 1.5 U.S. Bank stadiums. So it's a lot of square footage that we are working with every day. Property Services applies strategies that are considerate of budget, facility condition assessments, building codes, planning and zoning compliance, Safe and Thriving Communities Report, and department space and staffing needs. Property Services is an internal service provider that exists to provide a safe and equitable work environment for all city employees. With that mission and the partnership of various city departments, Property Services is bringing 11 projects forward in the 2025 through 2030 capital project program. These projects support the work of public safety, public works, Minneapolis Farmers Market, animal care and control, as well as various office needs throughout the organization. Beginning with the Minneapolis Fire Department, 2 capital projects are currently programmed. FR 11 is the replacement of the existing Fire Station 11. The goal of this project is to provide a new facility that will meet the fire department's operational needs and maintain the fire department's capability to meet the 5-minute response time in accordance with the National Fire Protection Association standards. FR 15 is the replacement of the alerting system across the fire station portfolio. That's 21 stations. This project is currently in design and will provide for faster response times, increased situational awareness, and provide adjustable zoned alerting that will improve firefighter health and wellness. MPD 05 is a major renovation or replacement and potential relocation of the existing Minneapolis Police 4th Precinct. This project will meet the current and future needs of the Office of Community Safety and the Minneapolis Police Department. MPD 07 provides for the upgrade and improvement of Minneapolis Police Department facilities. In March of 2023, the City of Minneapolis approved the terms of the court-ordered settlement agreement with MDHR. As a part of this agreement, several facility assessment studies were conducted. These studies identified shortcomings in our facilities and improvements based on best practice for better, safer work environments for MPD, staff, and visiting members of the public. PSD 15 is the second phase of the traffic maintenance facility upgrades. Phase 1 was completed in 2015 with a focus on interior spaces. Phase 2 will address the mechanical and electrical systems and infrastructure of the facility. PSD 16 addresses accessibility improvements, ADA compliance, restroom upgrades, and energy efficiency improvements at the Minneapolis Farmers Market. During design, we will be researching options for partial enclosure of the market structure to elongate the market season on site. City Hall's Restack project, known as PSD 20, is a joint project between the City of Minneapolis and the Municipal Building Commission. Phases 1 and 2 are complete, and Phase 3 is well underway. To date, all major demolition is complete, and construction is progressing on both the 3rd and 3M, or mezzanine floors, and we are on schedule. The project will result in modern work environments for city employees and elected officials of our city. We are very much looking forward to the transformation of City Hall. A planning study was conducted in 2023 to examine operations for the reconfiguration, expansion, or relocation to meet the current and future needs. Animal Care and Control, known as PSD 22, seeks the renovation of the existing facility to address current deficiencies of functional space, with the potential to add a secondary location to meet the programmatic needs that are currently unmet. PSD 23 proposes a new facility for public safety training and wellness center. This facility will be designed to provide for pre-employment, continued education, in-service classroom, and computer training needs, in addition to physical wellness and mental health counseling for public safety employees. PSD 26 is the security improvements project related to physical security equipment, such as cameras, fencing and gates, access control devices. This project will support the modernization of existing aging equipment to meet increasing security needs across our portfolio. Finally, the Southside Community Safety Center, known as PSD 31 in our program, envisions a renovation and repurposing of an existing facility to include the offices of Community Safety, Minneapolis 311 Services, along with Minneapolis Police Department, collectively serving and supporting the surrounding community. The goal of this project is to co-locate in one space one place, safety services related to prevention, response, and restoration in a building that is welcoming and accessible to all people who live, work, and visit Minneapolis. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to address questions related to any of these 11 projects just presented.
Colleagues, are there any questions for Director O'Brien? I'll first recognize Council President Payne, followed by Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I was curious whether it's, the MPD 07, or I did see you had a line item for security improvements. If either of those capital plans addressed some of the items highlighted in the audit of our evidence warehouse for MPD. I know that has your team coordinated at all with MPD on the evidence warehouse?
So Madam Chair and members of the committee, so let me just start with, you asked about the security improvements piece. That is really specific to things like gates and card readers, cameras. Oftentimes, the way that we have structured those items, they get installed when a building is newly renovated or brand new. And what we know is that they have a much shorter life expectancy than things like boilers and light fixtures. And so that particular line item is really to stay current and modern with our security devices that are within our buildings. So that's kind of separate. The other project that you referenced that is specific to MPD projects would be able to address things that are they're larger than normal operations items, and perhaps don't necessarily fall into a category of full replacement. So we have to have a mechanism in which we can address those, and that is the intent of this project. Hopefully that answered your question.
Specifically, maybe if you could just make sure to follow up with MPD to make sure that the needs in that audit are addressed by this capital budget, and if not, that we make sure that that's accommodated. And then my other question is around the wellness center.
Yes.
And I was curious if there had been any thought on the Southside Safety Center, the new third precinct, as possibly being a facility that could be used for those purposes.
So, again, we, on that particular project, as you know, we have just entered into finalizing a contract for a designer, and we will be going into early design phases where we will certainly look at a lot of solutions. So it's not off the table, but I do have to say we need to go through the process of
Absolutely.
the design. So
Yeah, I raised that because I could see there being some synergies with what we're trying to accomplish there, and through those synergies, perhaps some cost savings.
yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council Vice President. And also, Council President Payne, I would recommend maybe connecting with Director Harrington, because we do have the RFP for rural architecture that's going to be doing this design service, or coordinating the design services coming through council next week. From my understanding and prior presentations, they've never talked about that as being a possibility. So far, it's been around the third precinct, and also figuring out which other non-MPD safety services or office spaces can be co-coordinated or co-located there. So it might be worth touching base with Director Harrington and getting some additional details on what is included in the actual RCA, and if there's the ability to include this as like a scope of focus. So I did want to point that out. I know a couple of weeks ago, and I know my office have a meeting with you, Director O'Brien, around this in terms of the CLIC's recommendation, where on page 9, they actually give some feedback related to MPD 07, PSD 23, so both the projects related to the 4th precinct renovation or replacement, as well as the safety center and wellness initiatives in the police facilities improvement, where they talk about on page 9, they requested more detailed information and basically said the current capital budget request can only be described as visions with no details. So I know we have been inquiring around, because like a few sentences after this, they mentioned they requested that small money be allocated to carry out a study to basically offer those details that does not seem to be, or maybe the court settlement or agreement facility assessment might not was provided to them to offer them those details. But I think there's this larger conversation, and you mentioned this in the slide, that the Office of Community Safety or the Safe and Thriving Communities report is going to be integrated. But what the Safe and Thriving Communities report articulates is, if we're going to be looking at how we align our facilities with this new vision of public safety, that might mean changing which precincts look like we're doing with the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center. It might be exploring what we originally had looked at, of even combining the 1st and the 3rd, so doing, combining of precincts or decentralization. So can you share if there's been that type of deep analysis done? I know you mentioned the court settlement facility assessment that we're mandated to carry out,
Yes.
but that seems quite different than what is being asked in the Safe and Thriving Communities report and plan.
Absolutely. So, Madam Chair and members of the committee, so I do know that you and I have time actually later today scheduled to kind of dive a little bit deeper. So, and the comments made in the CLIC report are not entirely unfair, because we have identified that for example, the 4th precinct is needs to be looked at. And so we have placed it in our capital program, and that is where it is, so that we can actually do the analysis. So without having it in our process, we don't have the opportunity to do those deep dives, and this is taking a step forward to be able to do that. And understand not only the facility that we own and operate and occupy today, but what does it look like in the future? And what are some of the early programmatic and design things that we need to consider? And so I'll be happy to dive a little bit deeper with you, on just the mechanics of that. That is something that Property Services already does as part of our process as we move through the capital program. It's part of our design process. It's part of when we bring designers on board or specialty advisors for certain kinds of projects. That is what we have in place. I hope that addressed your question.
Slightly. I think what I heard originally is, or what I'm hearing now is, there hasn't been the analysis, because our conversation that we're having today was around me being interested in following the CLIC's recommendation to do a study, to do that exact analysis. That does not seem to be done, and is not the same as the court settlement facility assessment, which is what I've been told so far. That assessment has been done, but what I'm hearing is slightly different today around that thorough analysis around like how this integrates with Safe and Thriving might not have been completed as of yet.
Correct. That is
Okay.
correct. They are two separate things at 100%. And so when we start to analyze a specific facility, that is much different than the facility condition assessments, and even the purpose behind the condition assessments. Are the goals and objectives during the design process are different. And so that is correct.
Thank you for that clarification, because originally I was told to not bring forward that recommendation because of the assessment, the facility assessment mandated by the court order agreement. And it's good to know that that is very different than what, again, I was bringing to ask around like this separate analysis. So thank you for providing that clarification.
Yeah, we definitely do that separate analysis in-house or in partnership with our consultants when we advance through pre-design or schematic design. So we touch on, I think, exactly what you're asking. We do that work, and I'm happy to dive a little deeper with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will recognize Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Dr. O'Brien. Appreciate the thorough report and all that you do to take care of the facilities here. In every conversation that I have with you, I see your heart, your own personal integrity that you want to make sure that goes into every building that we have here in the city. So I appreciate that. I've worked extensively with you and Councilmember Palmisano trying to help think about how we make sure that our firehouses are up to par, and so I appreciate that work. I just have a couple questions, because when I think about public safety and our public safety ecosystem, I do think that there's a lot of synergies in what those buildings look like. So I'm anxious to get a little bit more information about the work that Councilmember Wansley's trying to do. So when I do see some of these projects, they still feel a little bit siloed. And I would love to be able to see us integrate that and really build out the vision of what our public safety ecosystem looks like, and making sure that our buildings then are a reflection of that. And so I did hear Council President Payne talk about the Public Safety Training Center and Wellness Center. I also see the 4th Precinct in here as well. And I think that I just would like to understand, how does that look? And now that you talk about our process, where is it that we need to either stop, pause, or really understand how these, like the wellness center, how can that be, parts of that be in training center, be integrated in the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center, or part of the new 4th Precinct, or should it have its own standalone building? Right now, it looks like it's going to have its own $22 million standalone building. And I would guess I would like to see how we are able to be efficient and effective with all of the work that we're doing.
Right. Chair Chagtai and members of the committee, I that very subject gets me really excited because I think that there is a lot of opportunity for us to, instead of making small tweaks, making sweeping changes. Property services, we are an internal service provider. We have customers, and we work extensively with them. So I think that some of those answers come from actually the Commissioner of Public Safety, who provides the vision and the guidelines for us to do our work. Granted, we provide best practices and common industry trends or professional opinions and advice, but it's very much a partnership with our customers. And in this case, the cases that you brought forward, they all fall under the Office of Public Safety. And so we would look to get the vision and the direction from Commissioner Barnett.
Okay, thank you. I will reach out to him to have a thorough conversation about that. I do have a quick question, though, specifically to the 4th Precinct. I'm sorry, I don't know. I have is that MPD 05? It says relocation versus, or there could be relocation or replacement, and then I see the cost. If this were to be like relocation and replacement versus a renovation.
Yes.
How significant are the cost differences between those, or does what I see here sort of kind of in between what this could look like?
You're absolutely correct. It is an in-between of what this could look like. Because we have not gone into detailed design, the very first step that we will take with this project is to do a thorough analysis. We need to understand not only the current needs, the future vision set forth by our customer, the Office of Public Safety, but we have to understand the confines that this facility has, the constraints, and some of the unique opportunities. And so it's through that process that we would make a recommendation to go one way or another, major renovation, or perhaps a relocation or a co-location of something else. So we do need to go through this process. This project was on our capital program listing prior to 2021, and then it was removed for a period of time. And this is the first time this building has come back onto our project listing. And so the first steps that we would take is really a clear analysis of what is existing, looking at it from opportunities and where are the constraints. And so from that data, we would be able to make some recommendations.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And I think that bodes into my next question around PSD 22, the animal care and control. It says that this is is the dollar amounts here just for the renovation versus I'm understanding that we potentially could add a second location, so that would be an additional cost on top of that?
We could, yes, that is true. So we did an evaluation of the building, very similar to what I kind of just described about the 4th Precinct. The animal care and control facility has some major deficiencies with space. When it was initially designed, built, and put into implementation, things were very different around the duration of time that the city kept animals, the services that are provided, and in fact, the kinds of animals that are stored there or homed there today are very different than what was even imagined when the building was built. So it's divided almost, this is a broad generalization, but it's fair to say that it's almost like two kinds of services broken down. There are the soft, cuddly animals that are ready for adoption, and then there are what are referred to as nuisance animals that are there for a period of time while they're being dealt with, and then hopefully able to be adopted or returned to their families. That poses a pretty significant problem because it's two different kinds of people that are coming in. So when we looked at the building and did the analysis, there is opportunity for modernization and renovation to accommodate the majority of those needs. What we would probably be looking at is maybe a secondary location that could be framed specifically for adopting, for places where families could go to do that, the adoption portion. They're very, very different functions, and so that is an outcome or a recommendation from the initial study. The dollars that you see associated with the project are related to what it would take to modernize and renovate the building. It would not include a secondary site for adoption.
Okay, that's really helpful. Another question, and this might just be, or I know that this is me not following the budget process through 3,000 Minnehaha, so I noticed that's not on here at all. So is my understanding that all of that funding is complete then for 2024, and there is no additional funding or budget for 2025 or 2026, 27, or any ask?
Once we have a path forward for that facility, we have resources that have been set aside for a certain portion of the building. We will likely need to add an agenda or add a capital project in 2025.
Okay.
Still to be determined.
Okay, so that's a to be determined. And how is that in our budget? Like, is there an amount that you have like set aside? Do we have
We have some programming. We have programming dollars set aside that will help us to launch into that project.
Okay. All right. And then I just wanted to say thank you for including the alerting system piece of it. And I just appreciate the work that's gone into that and the creative thinking about how we get that across the line for our firefighters. And I'm looking forward to kind of hearing the outcomes once they get installed.
Yeah.
And understanding, the impacts that this is going to have. I mean, we see the data and we understand what that will help to improve their health and wellness and faster response. But I'd like to see what that does here for Minneapolis. So appreciate seeing that in there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director, for your awareness, there are 4 more council members in queue at this time. There may be more. And then, colleagues, we are about 60% of the way through this presentation. After discussion and question and answer with Director O'Brien wraps up, we will then welcome the Park Board for the Park Board requests, and then we'll end with Public Works. So that's what we have still left to get through. And then I'll also note I'm gonna turn the chair over to Vice Chair Koski, and I'll recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll cut my questions or comments in half then, because it seems like we're running tight on time. Most of my questions are for the alley repaving program anyhow. Director O'Brien, I'm curious if you can just give us a few words about how to integrate our CIP plans with potential bonding at the state. And for example, in a conversation earlier this week with Councilmember Chowdhury and our IGR director, we talked a little bit about the public safety training and wellness facility and the need to identify a site before we could potentially go for bonding.
Right.
And we have a potential partner with other cities to potentially do that. But can you just help us understand a little bit how CIP and bonding requests coordinate together, or do we always put them both in and see which way we might want to handle those requests?
I would actually.
It's not a trick question. I'm not.
No, I would actually, if it's okay, I would actually
Mr. Hoppe?
like to partner with Alan, because it is very much an integrated process, and we identify our needs and then work with the budget office.
Hi, Alan Hoppe, again, Director of Budget, Debt, and to the committee members, we might have to go a little deeper in your question, just to be sure we're answering it correctly. But, as you're going through the process here with the capital budget discussions and approving the project, as I kind of touched on earlier, we're going to work, once those authorizations are in place, we're going to go work on the operational part of selling the bonds, work with the project managers to say, how much of this authorization are you ready to spend right now? The debt team does not work ahead of the budget team as far as establishing projects, the capital projects and whatnot. We're really just kind of in the background for the banking part of this. So I should stop there and see if we go a little deeper, a little slightly different direction to answer the question.
I'm good. All right. Any other questions, Councilmember Palmisano?
I'll hold them for another time.
Okay. And we can see how fast we get through here, and you might be able to get into another. Okay, Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Koski. Thank you so much, Director O'Brien, for this presentation, especially the part about the 4th Precinct. It is long overdue that the 4th Precinct gets renovations or relocated, whatever comes out of this. I'm glad to see it in your presentation because, as you know, I was going to have a budget amendment to look at the 4th Precinct. So I'm glad to see that it's going to be coming up. 2026 is still far away, especially for a council member who's been here for a few years listening to lots of South Side improvements being rejected or accepted for police stations or public safety centers. So I'm happy to finally see the North Side being recognized and hopefully being looked at and getting some major renovations or relocation, whatever is needed and comes out of this study. I guess what I wanted to know though is, Councilmember Koski made a good point about, potentially a wellness center. Does this happen in the 3rd Precinct too? Are they going to get a wellness center, or like what's being looked at over there for potential?
We are still working through the program, finalizing the program, and then kicking off the design. So at this point, the focus for the Southside Community Safety Center is to embed the services that, as I stated, that will be complementary to the police function there. So those specific items are still being worked through the Office of Public Safety, and again, that would be Amanda Harrington could speak very explicitly about the details of each of those items.
Thank you for that, and just want to end with, since you presented that slide came up, and I've gotten a good amount of texts from Northsiders saying safety first. People are happy to see this happening. We welcome a new 4th Precinct in North Minneapolis, so thank you so much for acknowledging what people would really love to see happen, and we'd also love a safety center, a satellite safety center somewhere in North Minneapolis also. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Vice Chair Koski. I just wanted to say thank you for flagging Director O'Brien the piece around needing Commissioner Barnett to share a little bit more information on the vision for the public safety needs as it relates to like our facility use. And I will name, I believe that was Vice Chair Koski who asked that, to encourage you to follow up with both Councilmember Chavez and I. This is literally something we've been pushing for in the Public Health and Safety Committee, where we're asking the Office of Community Safety to formally adopt the Safe and Thriving Communities plan and report, which would essentially provide that clarity and direction that I know the clipboard has asked for, that you're referencing right now. So Vice Chair Koski, if you also want to talk offline about that piece, in addition to the study that we're asking for in these specific public safety facilities and how they reflect what is recommended in the Safe and Thriving Community Report and Plan, I'm more than happy to talk to you offline on that one. And then also, follow-up question around the 3,000 Minnehaha. You mentioned there's currently some programming dollars in the finance and property service budget, at least for this year, to do some work around that. Is that related to the RFP that was named that we should be anticipating that's going to come, that was mentioned in our briefings?
It is. It has been set aside to allow for the programming that would happen in the building. So we did mention an RFP that would be seeking operations and main programming for the community portion, as well as an RFP for design work. And so that is what it is in reference to.
Okay, those two RFPs essentially for the community operations and the design. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, and last we have Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Koski, and I want to go back to 3,000 Minnehaha, and I want to get more clarity. You said, and I don't know if I got the full answer from the question that Councilmember Wansley asked, but so there's program dollars in the current mayor's proposed budget proposal for 3,000 Minnehaha.
No, I did not say that. We have dollars that are available to us to do some of the next steps. That would be facilitating the RFP, both of the RFPs. It would allow us to go into early design work so that we can move forward with that facility. 3,000 Minnehaha is not part of our capital presentation today.
But there is dollars relating to 3,000 Minnehaha in the current budget, but it's not part of your proposals. It's somewhere else in the budget.
We have dollars accessible to that enable us to do pre-design work.
Okay. So what I would need for administrative follow-up, just because it's not related to this presentation, is where in the budget that is, which department, how much, and then I was trying to look to see if there was anything in the budget to address the barbed wire on 3,000 Minnehaha in this presentation, but that's probably a different department as well.
That I can talk about. So that is part of what you probably recall, Phase 1 cleanup. That was part of a presentation that I did. It's not necessarily a capital project. We have $1.4 million for that Phase 1 cleanup and the removal of the barriers and temporary fencing to include the razor wire is included in those dollars that we have at our disposal. Again, 3,000 Minnehaha is not part of this presentation at all.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I just want to make sure that that was noted for administrative follow-up, was the 3,000 Minnehaha pre-design funding. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay. All right. No other questions for you, Director? Very appreciative. Thank you so much. Next, we have Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and I just want to note for our colleagues, we are going to lose one of us here, and so we will be sitting right at quorum. So we'll be able to continue to listen to them, but if we were to lose quorum, my understanding is we wouldn't be able to ask questions. So, Clerk, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so just as a friendly reminder to colleagues here. All right, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Koski, committee members. My name is Adam Arvidsson, and I'm the Director of Strategic Planning at the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. It's my pleasure to present to you the 6-year capital budget for MPRB. Obviously, we're on a little bit different process than other city departments and a slightly different cycle, but we try to find ways to sort of integrate with the entire system, and so I've been presenting here for some years, and I'm also willing to welcome whatever questions you might have. As a quick overview about the MPRB Capital Improvement Program, the foundation of our CIP is a set of equity metrics that were brought into reality on the heels of the NPP 20 ordinance jointly created by the Park Board and the city. Projects are all selected based on an empirical data-driven metric, which is the only one of its kind in the nation. We look at community characteristics and also park characteristics. So the Park Board prioritizes improvements in parks not just based on the asset condition in those parks, but also on the realities of the community around those parks. This is our way of recognizing historic inequities across our city and really trying to build our way out of those. So we have community characteristics. There are 4 of those. And then there are developed parks and undeveloped parks, which have slightly different metrics. And that leads essentially to a system where every park gets a score and a ranking, and then parks come into the CIP once they have the highest ranking of parks that have not yet been invested under NPP 20. So right now, the parks that are coming into the CIP, out of about 153 parks, are ranked in the 50s and 60s, right? So we are about halfway through NPP 20. And the types of parks that are coming into the CIP do reflect that progress. Early on in NPP 20, we were investing primarily in what I might call Phase 1 parks. These were the parks that had the greatest community need. One could argue these were the communities that had been the most disinvested across the last 50, 60, 70 years. Those parks were concentrated primarily in the upper south of Minneapolis and on the north side. You'll note from the graphics here that there are still parks in those areas, but we've sort of moved into essentially a Phase 2 of NPP 20, which is really parks that are scattered all over the city and have less of a relationship with the community demographics around them, but these are all parks that might be considered tired or declining. They have many assets that have a low condition, that are out of their useful lifespan, and also parks that have not been invested for a significant period of time. So you can actually see from these maps, which demonstrate all the projects that are in the 6-year Park Board CIP, that we do still have parks in that upper south and north side area, but now they're starting to spread all over the city. So again, these are the parks that are starting to get into that middle part of our CIP ranking, and they have other factors at play, both community and site asset characteristics. We've not yet gotten into those Phase 3 parks, which are the ones where that are essentially performing the best and are also in neighborhoods where the demographics could not be described as having been historically underserved. The main thing I want to discuss today is one particular park, and that is North Commons on the north side. The Park Board has an ambitious vision for North Commons and has been seeking state funding and other funding sources, including federal, also money that has passed through the city, thank you very much, from the ARPA dollars, in order to create what will be the largest recreation center in Minneapolis. It's the single largest investment in a neighborhood park in the Park Board's history, and also would include the first field house, sort of an indoor space for community gatherings, sports tournaments. We have nothing like it in the system that compares to what many suburbs do in fact have in their systems. We have experienced a bit of a winding road on this project. There have been cost increases, delays in state bonding coming forward. The Park Board has chosen to take the bold step of significantly modifying its CIP in order to get this project underway as planned in 25, with an opening hopefully at the end of 26 or early 27. The Board of Commissioners passed a resolution on August 7th that would actually dedicate the entire $10.3 million in our 2026 neighborhood CIP to North Commons, and then delay the 2026 year and 27 and onward of every project 1 year. essentially creating a space in the middle of our CIP where we can invest in North Commons. This demonstrates significant local commitment to the project, something that we had been criticized for in the past, especially from the state. And it helps ensure additional state bonding and also private philanthropy that will get this project done. So just a really quick snapshot of the sources of funding down at the bottom here. You notice that we do have federal, city, state, local money, and then those last two over on the right-hand side would be 2026 NPP 20 funds, which is bonding that the city does on our behalf, as well as Park Board capital levy, which is the direct taxation, which would get us to that North Commons full funding project. So what happens here in the CIP that I'm going to go through quickly is that you'll notice there's only one project in the 2026 year. And again, the reason for that is that every other project is slid backwards 1 year. We chose the 2026 year for a couple of reasons. Funding in the 26 year does allow us to still be utilizing that money while the project is under construction. So it's timed correctly to complete the project. But it also doesn't impact the 25 budget, which we are doing right now and which CLIC has already reviewed. So this allows us to look forward a year and actually come back to CLIC through that entire process and have that be vetted forward for the 2026 year rather than doing that in the immediate next year. So you'll notice a variety of projects here. Many of these on the left-hand side I'll go through in a little bit of detail in a minute, but without getting too much into the numbers, you'll notice again as I page through here, the 2026 budget has the North Commons project at $10.34 million, and then all the other projects are sliding forward out 1 year, including to the 2030. The one thing we did not move in the 2026 year is we retained our investment to the rehabilitation program in our parks. So that fund, the PRKRP fund, takes care of all those things generally throughout the system that are kind of breaking down. It's not specifically allocated to individual parks, but instead we go where there's immediate need in terms of the asset itself. We have retained those dollars in 26 so that we don't fall behind in system-wide rehabilitation while investing in this important project at North Commons. So the way that our capital budget requests work is that we have large ongoing projects, and then we also have site-specific projects. Altogether, our 6-year CIP will make investments in 58 parks out of 153 total ranked neighborhood parks in the system. The Park CP is a general catch-all project that invests in parks across the system with equity rankings, where the individual investment in those parks will be $1 million or less. So that's a bit of a catch-all for our smaller implementation projects. The rehabilitation program I just mentioned slightly, that's $26.6 million at multiple parks, many of which yet to be determined because we go where the need is. Our playground and site improvements project, we're doing about 3 or 4 playground-only projects every year. That is the asset that creates the most potential risk to the park board, and is also one of the most heavily used. So we sort of take those outside of the normal system and do them on their own. We have 1 athletic field project. And then onto the single park projects, there are 20 of these where we're investing more than $1 million in single parks. And the listing is there for you with their code numbers. And again, these are the parks I noted before that have rankings in the 50s and 60s, and we invest in them individually as they go. We use participatory project scoping on all these projects, which means that when we begin them, we go out into the community to work with people to determine what we should build with that investment. We will not be able to build out an entire master plan every time we touch a park, so we work with the community to prioritize investments that should go forward at this particular time. And with that, committee, I stand for questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Director. We have Councilmember Vita in queue.
Thank you, Chair. No questions. Just wanted to say congratulations on bringing home the gold. That is a big deal. Since 1989, I think that was the last time Minneapolis Parks won the gold medal, so congratulations on that. And just also wanted to say thank you so much for the commitment to North Commons Park. This project is long overdue, and for the Park Board to prioritize it the way that you all have done this, to really make the commitment to this community and to help people believe in the system a little bit more, to create this world-class park that won't just be used by Northsiders. The hope is that everyone uses this park. It's one of a kind, and we're hoping that it will generate some positivity. The use will also create economic opportunities for the businesses in North Minneapolis. You know, to have that field house is going to be a huge deal for this community and those who are using them. So thank you so much, Director Arvidson, and thank you to the entire Park Board, the Board of Commissioners, the Superintendent, and all the staff at MPRB for your commitment to North Commons Park and to the community. I really do appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, I'm not seeing any further questions, so thank you so much, Director Arvidson. I really appreciate all the work that we've been able to partner on and appreciate this really thorough presentation here. So next, I will call up, we have, I believe, Public Works. Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, council members. My name is Jennifer Hager. I am the Director of Transportation Planning and Programming for Public Works, and here to present the Public Works CIP for you today. And I also just thank and recognize a number of other Public Works staff here in the audience today that were really instrumental in putting this presentation together, as well as the program itself. The Public Works portion of the capital improvement program is the largest, and as we put our recommended capital program together, we are focused on investing in our aging infrastructure and equipment while managing bonding capacity and balancing customer rates. This program helps us manage over 1,000 miles of city streets and around 200 miles of bikeways, over 400 bridges, 820 signalized intersections, 35,000 streetlights, 100,000 signs, and over 7,000 parking meters, 832 miles of sanitary sewers, 566 miles of stormwater pipes, and another 16 miles of deep stormwater tunnels, 1,000 miles of water mains, 100,000 water meters and service connections, and 8,000 hydrants, nearly 2,000 city vehicles, and so much more. As has been the case for the last few years, cost increases for critical components across all divisions are driving pressures across the program. In addition to responding to and balancing these cost increases, the program also balances funding across competing priorities. Every effort is made to leverage outside funding opportunities and increase what we can accomplish with our program and local funding. Historically, the city has been very successful in federal funding grants managed locally, and we are committed to seeking additional sources through competitive nationwide processes. In working with the Budget Office, additional net debt bond capacity has been identified in 2026, 2027, and 2028. And recognizing our current pavement needs, we are recommending that the vast majority of this funding be programmed in our street paving program, which is focused on preserving our pavement condition. This slide shows just a portion of the programs and projects in our paving program. The paving program includes the programs and projects that resurface and reconstruct the city's streets, as well as parkways. It also includes the 2 programs that construct and reconstruct alleys. Notice that some of the line items are duplicated and noted as supplemental. These are the programs where we've recommended the programming of those supplemental funds. The paving program portion of our CIP also includes the ADA ramp replacement program, which is a critical program to helping us increase the overall accessibility of our transportation system. Upgrading pedestrian curb ramps is embedded in our street paving projects, and PV 104 is a standalone program that provides funding for us to respond to immediate needs for upgrades that do not align with a street paving project. Over the last few years, we have accelerated the upgrade of pedestrian curb ramps, now averaging over 1,000 ramp upgrades per year. These efforts were recently aided by state bonding funds. Notable on this slide is the PV074 Cooperatives Project Program, where we contribute local funds towards projects being led by Metro Transit, Hennepin County, and MnDOT. The paving program is focused on maintaining a state of good repair on city streets by investing in necessary reconstruction, rehabilitation, and repair projects. Programming recommendations for the transportation portion of the capital program are guided by our plans and policies, including the Transportation Action Plan, the Racial Equity Framework for Transportation, the Vision Zero Action Plan, the ADA Transition Plan for Public Works, and the 20-year Streets Funding Plan. We use a criteria-based system for programming that considers both asset condition and equity. Asset condition includes the condition of the infrastructure, safety data, and utility needs. Equity encompasses demographic information, vehicle availability, users of the system, and modal needs. We are currently in the process of updating the 20-year Streets Funding Plan to use the recently adopted Transportation Equity Priority Scores, which were established as part of the Racial Equity Framework for Transportation. Our guiding principle for paving is to strive for the right fix at the right time. Strategic investment in resurfacing and rehabilitation can extend the useful life of our street infrastructure, maximizing the benefit of the city's investment and postponing a more costly street reconstruction. When a street does need to be reconstructed, it is our greatest opportunity to modernize the design and function of our streets to better address safety, current uses and needs, and to advance our goals around mode shift, climate, and mobility. This work is further supported by projects led by Metro Transit, Hennepin County, and MnDOT. These partnerships are important to the success of our policy goals. Many of these transportation projects are being led by our partner agencies and advancing with the support of federal and state dollars. For our own projects, we have secured $37.9 million in federal funds in this current CIP. Local funding is required to match these federal grants, so programming decisions, in particular around the timing of a project, are made in response to the timing of those federal funds. To summarize the recommendations related to the supplemental funding that is available, we are recommending that several routine paving programs, such as asphalt and concrete resurfacing, be increased with the available funding in 2026, 2027, and 2028. Other programs we recommend smaller increases to in those same years include alley renovation, unpaved alley construction, the Development Infrastructure Program, ADA ramp replacement, major trail maintenance, the All Ages and Abilities Bikeway Program, sidewalk gaps, and Vision Zero. The supplemental funding is really fortunate because we do continue to see a decline in the pavement quality on city streets. The supplemental funding will not increase the overall average pavement condition, however, it will help to slow the decline. This chart shows average citywide pavement condition ratings over time in blue, with an estimated continued decline in gray. Again, the supplemental funding will not change this trend line, but it will help to slow the decline. As part of our annual reporting as required by the 20-year Streets Funding Plan ordinance, we create this chart which helps shows our programming against our targets. All of the funding from the 20-year Streets Funding Plan is programmed towards projects and programs that invest in the pavement condition of our city streets. The 20-year Streets Funding Plan calls for a minimum annual funding amount to be programmed towards street paving projects. That amount was set in 2016 at $21.2 million per year, growing with inflation. This annual funding amount is meant to be in addition to the base funding that was already part of the Public Works Capital Program. That base funding flexes from year to year to fund other important investments in our transportation system, such as bridges, Vision Zero, Safe Routes to School, and the traffic and street lighting programs, for example. This flexing from year to year contributes to the bars on this chart sometimes being above and sometimes falling short of the blue dashed funding target line. However, when we consider the investments over time and the additional outside funding that our local dollars are leveraging, we exceed the overall funding target. Many of the targeted pedestrian, bicycle, and safety programs live in the active transportation and Vision Zero programs of the CIP. This funding improves and expands pedestrian and bicycle networks outside of street reconstruction projects to provide safe, convenient, and comfortable mobility options. It includes major trail maintenance, protected bikeways, pedestrian safety, and safe routes to school programs. This is also where we have funding for Vision Zero, where we are able to fund proven and effective quick-build safety improvements to rapidly reduce crashes on our streets. Our Vision Zero program now reflects our successful Safe Streets for All grant, including MnDOT's provision of the local match. Funding for Vision Zero infrastructure improvements is critically important to advancing our goal of zero traffic deaths and serious and severe injuries on city streets by 2027. Active transportation projects and programs are meant to improve and expand pedestrian and bicycle networks outside of street reconstruction projects to provide safe, convenient, and comfortable mobility options. And the Vision Zero program is geared toward advancing our Vision Zero goal. The active transportation and Vision Zero projects and programs are deployed using guidance from the Transportation Action Plan, the Vision Zero Action Plan, and other policy documents, and follow a data-driven approach to investing where the most need and benefit align. This year, we have secured $13 million in federal funds for future active transportation projects and nearly $25 million in federal and state funds for Vision Zero through the Safe Streets for All grant program. Improvements to sidewalks in the city are funded through various projects and programs, including these two standalone programs. These programs are where we can proactively address defective and hazardous sidewalks and also identify and close gaps in our system. There are about 2,000 miles of sidewalks and over 18,000 pedestrian curb ramps in the city. Maintaining safe and accessible surfaces is essential to support and promote walking, rolling, and biking in the city. Inspecting and replacing hazardous and defective sidewalks is done in neighborhood-sized areas throughout the city and additional locations based on need. This work is coordinated with other construction projects performed by Public Works or partner agencies and is competitively bid. Sidewalk gaps are closed whenever possible, either through a paving project or with this standalone sidewalk gap program. Traffic and street lighting is organized into 8 program areas with individual projects nested within these programs. Traffic and street lighting programs work to maintain a state of good repair for traffic control infrastructure. These investments enhance mobility from all modes and improve safety. These programs will continue renovation of the city's existing metal pole street lighting facilities along commercial corridors, most of which are 40 to 60 years old and at the end of their service life. This program also helps to convert high-pressure sodium to LED lighting. Similar programs are focused on renovating or installing lighting along parkways and pedestrian street lighting corridors. These programs also will replace and upgrade traffic signal systems, many of which are over 30 years old and have reached the end of their service life. Improvements include state-of-the-art technology such as video detection systems, emergency vehicle preemption, countdown pedestrian signals, accessible pedestrian systems, and ADA-compliant pedestrian curb ramps. And these programs will also make safety improvements for all users using proven tactics such as upgrading deficient signal systems, adding durable pavement markings, replacing or updating lighting and signage, and making improvements for those walking and biking to and from schools. The Traffic and Parking Services Division has secured $16.9 million in federal funds for this work in this current CIP. This slide shows the upcoming projects on city-maintained bridges. We have BR 101, which provides for major repair and rehabilitation of bridge elements such as decks, railings, sidewalks, abutments, and piers, and significantly extends the operational life of the bridge assets. They are standalone projects, including bridges over the Midtown Greenway, that are being advanced in partnership with the Hennepin County Regional Rail Authority by leveraging federal bridge funds administered by MnDOT. And the list of projects also includes the Nicollet Avenue Bridge over Minnehaha Creek, which is a very large project, both in scope and project cost, and we are continuing our efforts to pursue outside funding for this project. We have one remaining bridge project here, which is Stevens Avenue over Minnehaha Creek. Bridges are an important component of our transportation system. Our bridge group maintains a state of good repair primarily through the repair and rehabilitation of existing bridges using an asset management framework. We have submitted the Nicollet Avenue Bridge over Minnehaha Creek for the Federal Bridge Improvement Program. We were unsuccessful in our first round, but we did update our application and reapply, and we are now awaiting further word on whether we were successful. BR 101 is one program that we have identified for supplemental funding. This program reflects a relatively small investment that helps us significantly extend the useful life of our bridge assets. Funding levels in BR 101 have not been adjusted for inflation for many years, and the supplemental funding would address that gap in the years that it is available. The fleet and parking divisions have ongoing capital needs reflected in these tables that covers fuel and charging stations, shop equipment, vehicle management systems, and the off-street parking system. The fleet and parking divisions use their capital dollars to maintain existing assets and improve the user experience for both internal and external stakeholders. These investments advance the city's climate goals, respond to customer needs, and are reflective of trends and needs across the metropolitan area. Projects include EV charging stations at various city-owned facilities, roughly 50 per year with 69 planned for 2027. Shop equipment including hoists, tire changers, scanners to diagnose emissions and air conditioner charges, IT systems for managing our fleet, and in municipal parking ramps, expanding EV charging, modernizing elevators, HVAC and energy management systems, retrofitting LED lighting and updating parking equipment, and addressing drainage, skyway roofing, and vehicle doors at specific locations. Sanitary sewer projects are organized into 4 program areas, with individual projects nested within these programs. As is true across our capital program, sanitary sewer programs work to maintain a state of good repair for critical infrastructure. These investments protect and improve the existing network that includes 832 miles of pipes and 10 lift stations. The sanitary sewer system is critical for protecting the environment and ensuring public health in our region through the collection and conveyance of wastewater to a wastewater treatment plant. These programs fund the rehabilitation and reconstruction of our sanitary sewer system, continued removal of inflow and infiltration from the sanitary system, and any sanitary sewer infrastructure improvements that align with a street reconstruction project. Nearly 50% of the sanitary mains are over 100 years old, and 80% are 80 years old or older. Aging infrastructure is one of the primary drivers of the capital program for the entire Surface Waters and Sewers Division, not just on the sanitary side. The Surface Waters and Sewers Division uses an asset management approach to combine infrastructure condition data with the likelihood and consequence of failure to establish, prioritize, and program capital improvements to ensure the continued success of the sanitary and stormwater systems. They utilize a range of construction techniques, including cured in place pipe lining and open trench reconstruction where needed. Similar to the sanitary programs, stormwater projects are organized into 7 program areas. The stormwater system collects and conveys stormwater to meet regulations, prevent negative impacts, and improve water quality. These programs fund the implementation of the city's Clean Water Act permit, which regulates how we manage stormwater and protect our lakes, creeks, and the river. The removal of clear water from the sanitary sewer system. This program complements ongoing sanitary I&I work. the repair and rehabilitation of the storm system, the citywide flood mitigation program, and any storm sewer infrastructure as part of a coordinated street reconstruction project. Our stormwater system consists of 566 miles of pipes, 26 pump stations, over 400 outfalls, and 12 holding ponds. The majority of the stormwater pipes are at least 50 years old. The stormwater system collects, transmits, and routes surface water runoff to several surface water bodies throughout the city and is critical for flood mitigation and ensuring water quality in our regional surface water system. Our team in surface waters and sewers ensures that we meet the Clean Water Act, our MS4 permit, and city ordinance requirements related to water quality. Our Water Treatment and Distribution Division manages both the treatment and distribution of drinking water. The water-funded projects cover a range of improvements to these systems, including projects focused on improving treatment and pumping infrastructure, projects in distribution and metering, and facility improvement projects to modernize spaces where employees work. Assets are managed to minimize life cycle costs at an acceptable level of risk while delivering established levels of service. The Water Fund is managed to ensure that operating revenues are sufficient to cover operating costs, including the capital program. The total estimated value of the city's water treatment and distribution infrastructure is approximately $2 billion. A $20 to $30 million annual capital program results in an overall renewal interval of 65 to 100 years, which is a recognized standard for a long-lived asset. Water distribution improvements include rehabilitation or replacement of water main, hydrants, valves, meters, and other water distribution system components. The city's water distribution system includes 1,000 miles of water main, over 8,000 fire hydrants, more than 16,000 valves and manholes, and over 100,000 meters. This system reliably delivers high-quality drinking water with sufficient flow to provide fire protection to all those living, working, or visiting the city, as well as our suburban wholesale customers. 69% of the 1,000 miles of water main are unlined cast iron pipe installed between 50 and 150 years ago. The system has remained resilient and reliable due to strategic investment in rehabilitation and replacement, leading to one of the lowest rates of water main breaks in the country. Water treatment improvements include updating obsolete control equipment, repair of aging piping within treatment plants, improving safety and security systems, and replacing pumps and chemical storage and feeding systems. Lastly, the facility projects include updating the Fridley campus, which dates back to 1925, by implementing a facility master plan that will upgrade workspaces for staff, along with equipment storage, warehousing, and maintenance shops. The Columbia Heights campus, which dates back to 1897, focusing on replacing structures built prior to 1920, and a project to design and build a new water distribution and maintenance facility to replace the existing obsolete facility located at 5th Avenue Southeast and Hennepin Avenue. And Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to stand for questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Director Hager. We have lost quorum, so you are off the hook at the moment. And I'm going to give that to you as a gift because you have been giving a lot of long presentations as of late. So what I will do is I will ask colleagues we'll send an email out, and if you have questions for the Public Works team, we will submit those to you via email and get those over to you due to losing quorum here. But wanted to make sure that you were able to finish your presentation. So I'll ask the clerk to file that presentation. Thank you again. And thank you to everyone who presented here today. I am very grateful for your time. And just wanted to note that our next presentation is on October 15th at 10 a.m. It will be the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. And with that, we've concluded all business to come before the committee this morning. And without objection, we will now adjourn. Thank you.